Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of Cleo's Corner. We are today in Minecraft land and working on the Engineering and Empire project. I'm going to give you sort of a walkthrough of what you're going to be doing today in this project. So on Canvas there is a project packet that outlines sort of what you're going to do, what the objectives are. And, the last several weeks in class, we've been looking at what makes up a civilization. One of those things that make up a civilization is monumental building. And then we moved into Egypt and Mesopotamia, and we looked at sort of examples of their monumental buildings, pyramids, tombs, ziggurats, temples, that kind of stuff. And we also were sort of driving towards this idea that civilizations develop particular achievements specifically because of the environment that they live in, because of their beliefs or their culture, right? So your assignment is to find a monumental building, a pyramid, a ziggurat, a temple, one of the selected ones that are on the list in the project packet. You're going to research it, and then you're going to build the monument. When you're done building the monument, you'll turn in the project packet on Cami or on paper, but then you're also going to give me a recorded walkthrough of your pyramid, sort of like the example that I'm going to give you right now, and kind of tell me a little bit about what you learned in your build. All right. So the pyramid that I chose is the pyramid. Hi, Bunny. Is the pyramid of Sneferu, the Pharaoh Sneferu. He was an old kingdom pharaoh in Egypt, and he was really only just starting to, the Egyptians were just starting to perfect the idea of a pyramid. And so this pyramid is sort of unique in that we call it the bent pyramid. So I'm going to turn around here. I'm going to show you. So I chose an environment that looks kind of like Egypt, right? So a good idea would be to find yourself a nice big desert environment. When you turn around, holy wow, there is the bent pyramid of Sneferu. And it is huge. What I actually did was find the dimensions and also the layout, the schematics of the inside, and I made this to scale using as close to the correct angles that I could in Minecraft. And this building was 600 feet long, and each block is 3 feet in Minecraft. So I did the math, and I figured out how tall it was and how tall it needed to be. And sure enough, it actually came out really close to being the correct dimensions, a little bit off. But you can kind of see how it looks a little bit weird when you look at the profile of it. You can kind of see how it looks bent, right? The line, the angle looks bent. And the reason is because, like I said, Sneferu wasn't really very good yet. The Egyptians hadn't built many pyramids yet. In fact, his is really the first true pyramid. But it was only about the second pyramid overall, third pyramid overall. So what they did was they started building it at too steep of an angle, and that led to instability. So they stopped about halfway up, and they changed the angle of the top, which gives it that very unique bent look to it. Now, my son helped me out just a little bit on this. He was playing around with me, so he made this little, I'm not sure what that is down there, pit of something. I think he put an animal in there at one time, but that wasn't actually historically there. And I did choose a location that was by a river, but if I had to do this all over again, I probably would have tried to find something that is completely in a desert landscape. When I started it in the opposite corner, and I actually thought I was far enough into the desert to do this, and little did I know that it got a whole lot bigger than I thought it was going to. Now, there's no historical basis for there being gold at the top of the pyramid or anything like that. I just did that because it seemed like a fun thing to do. But when you look at just how big this pyramid is, it just goes on forever. And I'm not sure what that's doing there. Let's blow that up a little bit. Got a little sand on my pyramid. Oh, my goodness. But at any rate, if I had to do over again, I probably would clear out all these hills, maybe even change the course of the river to be a little bit more like it should be in real life. And there's also a whole new, there's a whole temple complex that goes in this. There was another pyramid, a secondary pyramid over there, all kinds of good stuff. So this is solid, right? I mean, well, mine is not solid, but the actual pyramids are completely 100% solid, except for the burial chambers inside. And this was Sneferu's third pyramid. The first pyramid he did, it was too steep and it fell down, and so he tried this pyramid. It was also too steep, and so they cut the top off of it like that and changed it. Well, he didn't like that either, and so he actually went ahead and had the workers create another third pyramid, which is one of the ones that you could do. It's called the Red Pyramid. And there you go. Now, that being said, there are passages in here, and they would have covered. I know pyramids look kind of like yellow and dusty and whatnot today, but that's because after several thousand years, after 4,000 years, it's amazing that they even exist. But they did make this a smooth-sided pyramid, which you can't really do in Minecraft. But they would have covered it in limestone, polished limestone, and so it would have this very gleaming white appearance in real life at the time. But they also sealed it up. They didn't want anybody getting in to the pyramid and desecrating the tomb, and so most of the time the pyramid entrances were not well known. They weren't right down here at the base. They were normally about halfway up the thing, and so you got to know where to look for the pyramid if you're going to get into it. But I know where the doors are. In this case, there's actually two entrances to this pyramid. There's one on this western side, and there's one on the north side as well. But we're going to go in the pyramid, so let's make sure nobody's watching us, so that nobody knows where to get in. The pyramids, the internal structures were actually very narrow and small. The Egyptians were not very good at the concept of internal structure, right? So they couldn't have big wide areas without the roof caving in. So when you go into the pyramid of Sneferu, and tourists are allowed to go into the real pyramid of Sneferu, you start by going down this long passageway. down, down, down into the heart of the pyramid until you get to another area here. And you got to be careful because there is a pit there that they would have put in there as a trap. There was also another trap right about here that would cause a huge slab of stone to slide down and crush whoever was in the way, or it would seal the entrance, or it would seal whoever unfortunately was inside the pyramid like us. But luckily I have levitation. And I can go right across. Now, as you're going down this pyramid, there's also another tunnel that in real life does not look like it was meant to be there. Kind of like, this just looks like a passageway, but really it looks like somebody busted through and tunneled another passageway off like this, probably tomb raiders or grave robbers, and we'll head down that direction here in a second. But basically, you come down the line here, and you just open up into a burial chamber. And we don't know if Sneferu was buried in this pyramid or if he was buried in the red pyramid. There's nothing in this pyramid anymore. It's been long gone. Raiders and tomb robbers have taken anything of value. So it's just an empty chamber here. We don't know if this was a antechamber or if it was for treasure or grave goods, or if it was his burial chamber. But anyway, if you come back here and we go down this broken passage here, and I'll tell you why I think it was a broken passage, because this broken passage it exits into the second chamber, but it exits into the second chamber at the roof, right? A cantilevered roof. So there's no real reason for that door to be there unless it was kind of hammered into by people who aren't supposed to be there. So I went ahead and put a sarcophagus, the big stone box that the mummy would go into. I put it in this room, although realistically, there's no sarcophagus in this one. There's a small little side chamber back over here that is accurate, probably for grave goods. And then there's another passage, an antechamber, down leading up to this. So really, in reality, people getting to this chamber here would come in the other entrance that I talked to you about, and they would come up these stairs into this chamber. So that just, again, also leads to the idea that probably that chamber up there, or that entrance, that tunnel, probably was not designed by the actual designers. So anyhow, so you go down this antechamber, these stairs, you go through another long passage, and then back up a much steeper passage to get you back up to the northern entrance, which actually is at ground level in real life. So anyhow, that, you have this entire huge pyramid, all for just two little tiny chambers, and it's really quite amazing. Now, the other thing I want to tell you is that in early Egyptian, like I said, this is kind of the first true pyramid. The only other pyramid earlier than this, there's two of them that are earlier than this. The pyramid of the first one would be the pyramid of Dozier, which is the first step pyramid where they kind of built up into the sky. The earliest pharaohs simply sealed their tomb with basically just a one layer of stone that they called a mastaba. And so what eventually happened is pharaohs then started stacking mastabas on top of one another until you got Djozer's pyramid, and that was kind of the first pyramid, but he didn't make it smooth sided, so it isn't a true pyramid. Sneferu here, he's the one who made the first true pyramid. Now, this pyramid is actually solid, about a third of the way up, maybe a quarter of the way up. But man, I tell you what, when you start trying to do this in real life, on a 1-to-1 scale, it is really, really stinking big. So it got to the point where I just said, to heck with it. I'm going to take you behind the scenes here and kind of show you what the inside of the pyramid looks like. And, if I had more time, maybe I would go ahead and try to fill all of this up. Historically, none of this is here because it's all just solid stone, right? But that's the external of that first chamber that I showed you, and then the second chamber that I showed you is actually below the. It's about right here, but it's below the surface of what I had filled up. And then this whole passage here, this structure here, was just to create the tunnel that you were in. But I put some lighting in here so we could kind of see a little bit. It's really pretty interesting. It's really important that you guys not take on too big of a project. This took me hours and hours and hours, and I know you think I'm probably some old fogey that doesn't understand how to use Minecraft, but I do. I'm pretty good at it, and I'm telling you, this was a huge project, even for me and my son to do. So what you might want to do is not make your temple at a 1-to-1 scale, meaning one brick here is equivalent to 3 feet of brick in the real world, right? Maybe you want to scale this down just a little bit, and you want to make one brick 6 foot, which would overall shrink the pyramid by half. Or maybe you want to make every pyramid, every block 9 feet or something. That would be a 1-to-3 scale. One brick would be 3 times that in the real world. So when we're in class, I can help you with the scale part of it, although it is something I think that you do in math eventually. So maybe you're somewhat familiar with the concept of scale. But if you're not, it's okay. We can work on it together. But this is sort of what I'm going for. What I'm looking for is either a ziggurat or a pyramid. If you're going to do a tomb, you're going to want to probably try to find a nice hillside or something over here. You're going to have to look for sources. You're going to have to look for resources that are legitimate, that actually give you a realistic schematic of what these different monuments look like. I'm looking for it to be to scale, to be historically accurate. I'm looking for you to be able to tell me about what you learned and about what the tomb was, who was buried there, all the kinds of things that I just shared with you in this presentation. And I really can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I'm very excited to see your creativity and your hard work. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed my pyramid. It was definitely a learning experience, building experience for me. I've never done anything quite this big before. And I hope you enjoy doing yours as well. If you have any questions, see me and we will work through them one at a time. Thanks for joining me today on Cleo's Corner. Have a good day.